Today I'm going to show you a really cool cinema, a dream come true home cinema, and I'm going to discuss the common pitfalls that you might fall into designing your own home cinema. So stick around! I'm sitting here with Marcus from The Rock, a home cinema design company based in the south of Sweden. And together we've designed this cinema. And I did the room acoustics and structural design to create the best possible conditions for the sound from the lowest of lowest frequencies to the highest frequencies to develop properly in this room. And Marcus, you did the system design, speaker design, setup, and a lot of the installation.
Yes, and the picture calculating, so we could get the largest screen possible.
Yeah.
Since that was a wish from the customer to have as big picture as possible.
And if you think back, Marcus, has there been any time where the client didn't want the biggest picture possible?
Yes, I would say there has, but in this case we had a lot of challenges since the height of the ceiling wasn't that high, and it was really a big wish for this customer to have the largest picture possible.
Yeah.
So I have to calculate, so make sure that the feet, when you put them up on something, didn't come in the picture, and so it was really on the margin of everything.
Yeah, so check this out. So now when I'm lying down like this, my feet shouldn't be in the picture, and checking, it's not, it's fine.
Yeah.
And I have big feet.
Yeah. And also the projector.
Yeah.
To be able to shoot freely over the head, it's not much. You can't be a basket player to sit here. Then you need to recline, and then you're safe.
It's not made for Michael Jordan sitting. Yeah. So Marcus, we're sitting in our finished work. This was 3 years ago. It was just a concrete garage, a really large concrete garage. I think the previous owner, he used it for exclusive cars, and so he dug out this big area in front of the house. So it's basically a large concrete box. And so we put our minds together and designed this exclusive home cinema. And just a quick rundown of what we have. In the front wall, the baffle wall, we have 3 speakers with tweeter, an 8-inch woofer, mid-range, and actually a 15-inch subwoofer.
In the bottom of the LCR, there are 15-inch woofer.
And we did calibration today, and we checked the settings, and we have the speakers play down to 45 hertz. And then we have 2 double 18-inch V-loaded subwoofers tucked in to the baffle wall, and I wonder if we will ever get them out again. But now they are there, and they take care of the low end at the front and the sub low end of the whole cinema. Then we have front wides, we have surround speakers, and surround back, and in the ceiling we have 6 Atmos ceiling speakers in a sort of DTS Atmos setup.
Yeah, I would say it's an Atmos setup, but Trinnov remaps the sound very good if you want to listen to anything else.
Yeah. And also, just because we wanted more bass, or the client wanted more low end, we added 2 dual 15-inch subwoofers, 1 in each corner at the back. And acoustically, to cope with this low-end energy, I really had to make a special design for this room because I knew that all the surfaces were stone, concrete, hard, and that basically all low-end energy would remain in the room, sort of. So the front baffle wall has a built-in bass trap, dedicated bass trap. The back wall has a bass trap, but and we also had the challenge that the client didn't wanted hidden speakers. So we had to find acoustically transparent cloth, and I know, Marcus, you did a great job testing out different fabrics.
Yeah. We had some favorites, but we wanted to make sure that since we had so much cloth in here, we needed to make sure that it wouldn't we would lose all the treble. So that's an important thing, to get a good cloth, and it should also work well with making shapes and putting in all kinds of corners and stuff. So
it's quite a job to work with cloth and to get it stretched properly. A big job for the contractors, and and acoustically, I wanted the room to feel as open as possible, and that's how we worked with the lighting also. Because when you hide all the speakers, your cloth will eat up a lot of the light and also a lot of the sound if it's the improper cloth fabric. So half of the back half of the home cinema have diffusion all the way around, one-dimensional Schroeder-like diffusers almost from floor to ceiling. And it really makes a difference. Also in the ceiling, there are diffusers, and it's just nice to sit here and talk.
Definitely, it feels like a normal room, but it's just dry.
Yeah.
So no. Sometimes you go into rooms that are treated, and you feel like a weird feeling.
Yeah.
You can't put your fingers on it. It just feels unnatural.
Yeah.
But there's nothing like that here. So.
No, I know what you mean. When the walls start creeping in on you, you just my ears. Jag har vad heter lock? Jag vet inte vad det heter på engelska.
A lid.
Yeah.
A lid in your ear.
A lid in your ear. Yeah, so that was quite a challenge, and there's always a challenge between you and me when it comes to the depth of the baffle wall. But in this case, it was easier for me. We had our boundaries, of course, but you needed to tuck in quite large subwoofers, and I said, okay, fine. And so that gave me the depth, but that's always like dancing tango back and forth, you and I, before we settle on the proper depth.
Yeah. But we also had the challenge about the projector, since normally you put the projector behind the back wall.
Yeah.
But since this back wall with the bass trap should be really deep,
Sorry,
we had a problem we needed to solve. So I actually found a way to make it without the glass, where we made a cone-shaped hole in the wall to make the light go out without touching. So we made it as small as possible, but since the light output to the large screen was kind of wide, it is a kind of a large hole, and the guys that built it, they were I think figuring a lot of time out to try to make this look good, and also they took a lot of time to make it.
Yeah.
And we weren't sure how it should work, because it was the first time we tried this.
Yeah.
But it was really good in the end. But you were a bit nervous until you tried it.
Yeah, exactly. oh no, we need to tear it down. Yeah, and if there's one person then that can fit in projectors and fit in screens and just make them work, it's you, Marcus, I have to say. The projects, it comes with experience, but the projects we've done together, there's always been the discussion about the width of the screen, the projector, where the projector goes, does it go into the wall, is it behind the wall, and you always make it fit.
Yeah,
and
but you're always a bit nervous until you try it in the real world. You draw it in an AutoCAD and try to think of everything.
Yeah.
But you're never sure until you try it.
No, until you.
Yeah. You start the projector and find a big head in the picture.
Yeah,
no, I made a mistake this time.
Yeah, and
There's
I remember another project, basement home cinema, and we really needed to fit in the screen, and it was like centimeters, right? Yeah,
you have to call the customer to ask how tall are you?
Yeah,
so we can fit it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it doesn't even fit in the room.
Yeah.
Well, I want a larger screen. Well, you can't have it. So, yeah, it's better to have knowledge from the beginning, but. And in the end, that will give you products that you can live with for a long time and find this end goal to make a good result in the end.
Yeah. With the creative possibilities, there's also a lot of challenges, right?
Definitely. If you put too many choices to the end customer, you won't get the good result in the end. So you really need to narrow it down so the customer can choose the really important decisions.
Yeah.
And since we had so free hands here from the beginning, it was like a concrete large garage.
Yeah.
Me and Fredrik, we had to put our heads together to narrow it down and
think.
and try to make it the best way possible.
Yeah.
But it was really good result in the end.
Yeah, it was worth the effort. Yeah, I remember you and I and a couple of other guys, the contractors and the client, we were standing here, and it was actually, like you say, a concrete garage, 160 square meters, if I remember correctly, something like that. The previous owner dug out this in front of the house, so it's just a large concrete box.
Yeah.
So we were going, okay, so what do we do with this? And then we started planning. And the planning part, how important would you say, leading question, how important would you say it is to a project?
Absolutely necessary to plan well.
Yeah.
And I think we made a good mixture there, because you made the foundation for the acoustics, and I could take that and put it into AutoCAD, and together we could change ideas and make the cinema what it is today.
Yeah.
So a good combination, I think.
Yeah. And for you guys watching, I promise to give you a couple of tips, good advices for your own home cinema designs. And the most important one, planning. And I know you guys, you Google a lot and you are on forums asking a lot of questions and stuff like that. And that's great. Get as much information as you can, but then you also need to boil down that information, because there's so many thoughts out there, so many opinions. This is right, this is wrong, these speakers are right, those are wrong. You need 4 subwoofers, you should put them in the corner, you should never put them in the corner. and you just put your finger in the sauce and then you taste it, and you can basically find whichever advice you're looking for. So that's the key thing, to really read up on the matter.
Plan. And what many first-time cinema creators make is they take one piece of everything and don't think about the big picture.
Yeah.
So you can really lose it there. You start out by, well, I'm having these speakers. What can I do with the room? Instead of planning everything from the beginning and get the stuff that you really need.
Yeah.
So it's important to look overall.
Yeah.
I would say it's what make fine theater to be a really, really good one.
Yeah.
So it's,
And oh, don't get me started on the acoustics. But, it's so easy to just start building, and you start building your own baffle wall, and you I've seen cases where people have ended up building a really large bass drum, because that's the cavity untreated inside that effectively becomes a really large bass drum. And it's tuned to a frequency that you have no idea about. You will find out once you're done. And also all other sorts of things that people put into their rooms, their home cinemas, without thinking about it properly and planning it before. And maybe ask an expert on the internet, or hire an expert like me and Marcus. Same thing with picture, the projectors. What I've seen, that's obviously your expertise. But they, correct me if I'm wrong, but you can start out with the screen, and you find a projector for that screen, and suddenly you figure that you can put in a bigger screen, but you keep the same projector because that's what you decided to buy, or that's what your budget is. And you end up with a projector that doesn't quite cut it for the width.
Yeah, I think that's a part of this thinking the big picture.
Yeah.
To have a goal.
Yeah.
With your project, so you don't end up with products that don't work in the end. So maybe you can't buy everything from the beginning.
Yeah.
Maybe you will have an end of the cinema 5 years from now, but you want to start using it in 6 months.
Yeah.
So then you need to plan for what you really aim for in 5 years. So build the room for what your goal is.
Yeah.
And the things that you buy them for the goal at the end, even though it might be a little bit more expensive, or you can't buy everything from the beginning.
Yeah.
You will eventually find that goal, and then you don't have to replace the stuff, or maybe rebuild the room because you change something in the middle. So get what you need, and buy it when you have the money for it.
Yeah.
That will give the most.
And then build your home cinema.
Yeah.
when you got what you need. Of course, there's always a budget to consider. But like Marcus says, it's so important. Planning, like everything else in life. But it can be really boring because you're planning stuff that you figure, I don't have the money for this now. But save up. And once you get started, you can finish a full project and make it sound and look really good.
Yeah. My best advice very often, when you have a limited budget, is to buy all the stuff that is going into the construction.
Yeah.
So you get you make the room as you would like to have it in the end.
Yep.
You maybe buy the screen because it's a fundamental thing to have in the construction. So you build the holes for the speakers, or however you're gonna mount them, because that is based on the screen, and things that you really easy can replace, the amplifier, maybe the projector, things you just take out and put in. Wait with that, because you can very easy replace that in the future, but you can't rebuild the room. So very easy though.
Yeah.
So that's my best advice when you're gonna build. Start out with those products that's into the construction, and the acoustic is one of them. So they should be in the start of the project.
Yes. And speaking of building your home cinema, we have to mention the contractors of this project.
Yeah.
It's Anders and Michael from Studio Annorlunda. Studio Different
Yeah,
in
that's
English.
okay.
Yeah, they're in the description below. And those guys are just magic to work with. They've solved so many problems and pitfalls that we encountered during the process of building. And most of all, they stretched and put up all this cloth, this fabric, and that was a job in itself. Amazing work.
Yeah.
And they're so, and what can you learn from it? Apart from, if you're in Sweden, you need to use those guys because in south of Sweden, because they're so good. And get good contractors. If you're not building yourself, if you're building a proper home cinema, where you're really going to build structure and baffle walls and stuff like that, get good contractors. Ask them if they've done home cinemas before, because it's just a different thing to build compared to just building a normal room.
It really is.
And when we stress tested, I remember the first time we stress tested the subwoofers, all the subwoofers in this home cinema, and nothing rattled. It was just low-end vibrations.
Yeah.
And I was amazed because here's another thing to talk about: ventilation. Never ever skip ventilation when you build your home cinema, because you're gonna need it, your gear gonna need it, and all the fabric and the insulation and stuff that isolation that you put into the room also need ventilation. It's just good manners when you build your home cinema, and put the extra money into ventilation. Same thing there. Get a good ventilation company come in there. Preferably don't put that stuff up yourself. Let somebody do it. Same thing with the electricity. Have somebody check that out.
Mm-hmm.
Get proper fuse boxes, and preferably, me and Marcus, we love working with the power conditioning. We've done it in this place. It protects your gear. It arguably makes the picture better, the picture quality. It makes the sound quality better. I'm going to save that for another video, and I can show you guys the difference. But anyway, so electricity, ventilation. What's more to think about? Yeah, and try to have a time plan. And I'm saying this to myself as well, but for when stuff needs to be finished. Okay, you get your weekends to work on. Okay, what do? You do this and you do this. Somebody's helping you out, a friend. Just get your planning. That's the most important part.
I would add a simple way to control your cinema. Is a very important part, because if you're not just alone that's going to use the cinema, maybe you are fine with the 7 remotes and knows when to use this one and that one. But if you're going to use it in the whole family or someone coming over, get the control system. It will make things so much easier. You just press one button to watch a movie and it comes up, and you have pre-programmed macros for different things. In this cinema, for instance, we have a screen with a masking system, and the projector, it shifts aspect ratio when we are pressing a button if we want to watch CinemaScope, and 16:9 and such. So it would be really, really hard to use this system without the control system. So that's my advice, because if it's easy to use the system, your other family members will use it more and
are going to enjoy it too. And you're going to enjoy it not having to come down to the home cinema every time somebody wants to use their PS5 or whatever. Yeah, really good advice. And speaking of control systems, how hard are they to install yourself as a hobbyist?
there are different brands, and but most brands nowadays, they are made for installation guys to do.
Yep.
They have the software, they make it fast, and they very often can control the system online. So if something goes wrong at the client, they don't have to go into their own computer and check stuff. They just lift the phone or send an email or whatever, and we fix it online most of the time. And if you want to add something, I got a new Xbox or whatever, we add it online. So you just plug it in and it's in your system.
Yeah.
So
and you guys did it today while we were doing calibration
absolutely.
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Your brother logged in and tweaked some settings. Some updates.
Exactly. There were some functions that didn't work because the Sapiti driver, it had this is how the control looks.
Yeah.
It had updated itself.
Yep.
So we need to go in and tweak a few things to make it as it should be from the beginning.
Yeah.
So stuff happens. You never know. So it's really nice for the customer not having to learn how it works by programming it themselves.
Yeah.
So
also the benefits you get when you hire a professional installer of the control system.
Yeah.
And that will save you, I would say, a lot of time.
Definitely.
And pain.
Yeah, I mean, back in the days, 10, 15 years ago, there were good systems, but the customer needed to program them themselves very often. Yeah. So when I came to the customers, they were never working as they supposed to, very rarely.
Yeah.
Because, I know that changed, the customer said, but I haven't had the time to fix it yet. And, I forgot how it was done. I knew it from the beginning, but now I don't remember. So can you please fix it while you're here? So very often they didn't work as it were supposed to, because you forget how it worked to program and stuff. So this system we have now, it's much better for the end customer, I think.
Yeah. And I would say same with the Trinnov calibration system. You can log into your customers' units, and I can log into my customer units. If they add a PS5 or whatever, a new Blu-ray player, we help them out online, and it's just such a treat to have that kind of support possibilities.
Yeah.
And more systems, of course, are accessible online. But still, you need a professional installer or calibrator to help you out, because otherwise you do everything yourself, and that's fun, and it's super interesting learning stuff. But you might, or I would say you aren't fully using the capabilities of your system, the projector, the sound system, your control system. It's just a fact of life. A professional will know more about your system and is ready to help you out. So maybe you build your stuff yourself, like we encounter a lot.
Absolutely.
And then we come in. You move a sofa. I moved 5 speakers positioned in the ceiling when they were supposed to be positioned on the wall, and in the end it all worked out perfectly. And just those tweaks that needs to be done, and somebody needs to tell the person that you need to do this, and they do.
Absolutely.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, the time where I moved the couch, I wasn't even there for that. I was there to calibrate the sound.
Yeah.
But I mean, we need to start by giving the best possible foundation for the calibration. We need to have the speakers on the right locations. So.
And both me and Marcus, we're kind guys, so we won't diss your system. We will just help out.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's just it's very rewarding when those small things can help out. And I'm thinking in hi-fi. I do a lot of hi-fi installations or room acoustics for hi-fi listening rooms, and just moving out the dinner table, the TV table in front, can make such a difference depending on how it's designed. And you can hear it, and sometimes I can even show it in my measurements that, hey, This is how it looks with the table. This is how it looks without. And then the normal answer is, yeah, my wife loves this table. Yeah, good. So the table stays, but you can always push it to the side whenever you want to properly listen to music.
Put wheels on it.
And put wheels on it. Yeah, that's your idea.
Yeah.
That's great. I'm going to tell him next time. Wife won't notice anything, right?
Exactly.
Just suddenly starts moving around. That's great. So going back to our project, or one of our projects, because me and Marcus, whenever we have the time, when the moon and the sun are in the proper position, we work together and create cool home cinemas like this. And for this project, speaking of planning, I mean, did we do a year of planning? When we started thinking about it?
Not far from it, I think.
Yeah, you did your part. I started my drawings. You did your AutoCAD drawings. And of course, a lot of discussions back and forth.
Yeah, and also with the end customer.
Yeah.
Giving him, narrowing down the choices.
Yeah.
So it will be easier for the customer to choose correct. But that takes some time, because sometimes the customer wants to discuss this with other family members, maybe think about it a little bit, and maybe consult some friends, and that takes maybe a few days, a week. Then you get reply, and then we're gonna discuss further, me and Fredrik, and then we did some more drawing on it and stuff. So and suddenly, when you have drawn everything, the customer changes everything. I'm gonna have a larger sofa. You are?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
Yes.
And it started out 5.
It was 5 from the beginning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it fit perfectly in both my drawings and in your drawings. And then I got a call from you, and you said, we have a challenge.
Yeah.
The customer is going for 7 seats. Okay.
And he also would like to have this large fortress sofa. So it wasn't a small 7-seater.
No.
I want the biggest possible.
Yeah.
So, okay, which walls can we move?
Yeah. And we kind of had a discussion about doing a 90-degree shift of the room.
Yes.
But that would have gotten us into lots of other challenges. So eventually, the sofa fitted in both yours and my drawings.
Absolutely.
And most of all, it fitted in the room.
Yeah, but it was good that we took some time for everything.
Yeah.
Because this wish, it came in the middle of the project. So if we had hurried, start building, we had to take it down and start over.
Yeah.
So it's very often a really good advantage to take some extra time, melt everything, process it again, and really, it's about the planning. But in this case, take some extra time, figure it out, and you won't hurry decisions that will make the result worse. So.
No, exactly. I know for you guys, home cinema enthusiasts, it's easy to either find the best price on a used speakers, or you go by recommendation. But you should really do your homework. So Marcus, you and your brother, you host biannual, every other year or so, home cinema show here in Lund, down in the south of Sweden, and your customers and clients and just people interested get a chance to listen to quite a few different home cinema setups and check out the projectors. On my Immersive Soundtech page on YouTube, the channel that you are on now, there's actually a couple of videos from the last show. And when I have time, I will put up more stuff, because it was a really good show. And we hope to I hope you guys do it the next year, the year after next year.
Yeah, it's a little bit up to our suppliers, since they make most of the work, and they need to want to come and afford to come, and they put so much energy and heart into the show each time. So every other year is probably what they can manage.
And I've been to a few of them, and they've always been really good. And I hope you guys have similar shows to go to. I don't know, CEDIA or what's the closest to where you are, and just do your homework. Listen to as many speakers as you can. Check out the acoustically transparent screens if that's what you're going for. Check out the projectors. Speak to the professionals. They have a lot of good advices for you guys for you to find sound-wise, which I do, which closest to my heart. You need to find the speakers that just sound nice to you at low volume, at high volume, and that just get you interested in the movie. Don't go for the cheapest. Don't go for the best buy just because, or you find a system used that's a great price. There might be great speakers, but they might not be to your taste. And then you're just throwing money in.
Yeah. And don't forget to choose speakers that is suitable for the installation you're going to do. Because sometimes I see customers having or buying completely wrong speakers. They may sound very well, but they don't fit in the room or together with the screen you would like. Yeah. So you don't think about the whole picture or the whole room.
Yeah.
So it's not all about sound. It's also to get it into the installation.
Yeah. And one thing that both you and me do, we do calibration. So this fantastic cinema is calibrated with a Trinnov Altitude 32. The best processor we found so far.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah. And also one of the most expensive, but you get what you pay for. We have full bass management. We're sending sound from the ceilings to the speakers. Some of the sound from the ceiling, the lower frequencies, to the speakers, and then down to the subwoofers. And I haven't found another system that has those capabilities. But we also use the other systems that are around: Dirac, Odyssey, Room Perfect, Anthem, Arc, and they are all capable of doing a lot of good stuff, but you need to know how to handle them, and that's where me and Marcus and other calibrators come in good hand, because we know the different systems. We know how to massage them to do what we want them to do, to get the most out of them. So if you find yourself tweaking target curves and blah, 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 and you can't quite get it to work, just hire a guy to help you out, because it makes such a difference. The difference I make when I come to a home cinema that somebody built and they installed themselves and done the calibration, what you also get if you hire me or Marcus or any other good calibrator is that you get a second pair of ears, a second opinion that just opens up your mind about your room and your system and what's possible. Sometimes we just move a speaker, we move two speakers, the center speaker is in the cupboard, we put it up and we get you to even install it on the wall, and suddenly it's perfect. Yeah. And just small things that makes a big difference. If you enjoyed this chat with me and Marcus, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel, Immersive Soundtech. Down here, I believe, and also ping that little notification bell Then you will get notified whenever I have the time to publish new videos. And Marcus and his brother, you will find their store, their home cinema store, at therock.se. The information is down below. They have a really nice store in Lund, in south of Sweden, if you're ever to Sweden or if you're Swedish. So enjoy your own home cinema, put on a good film, and see you next time. Cheers.